Hi, I have a 2005 Blazer. We had floor heat problems. So I took the dash off and started diagnosing some of the what's going on with the HVAC. Actually, before I took the dash off, I was able to crawl underneath and cycle the controls and actually watch the vacuum actuators, and there's actually an electronic actuator. That's the blend for the blend door, and all these other actuators. There's 3 of them. I was able to watch them work, and they all worked fine. So the problem was, they all worked fine. The problem was, looking down, I took the dash off, looking down, I noticed that this, let me get the light here, that this one for the door, for the floor, was wobbling. You can see it down back here. It wasn't working right. It was going up and down. It was kind of wobbling around. It was going up and down. The other actuator doors, they were more solid. They looked like they were working properly. So I looked down inside. I could see the doors going up and down. I got a light problem here. Please put this there. So it goes up and down. Nice. I believe this one's for the defroster door. So what I found was this actuator door was laying down inside there, and it goes in this position, and it goes down inside there, and it was broken. It was just kind of laying there. Wouldn't go up and down. I bought a new one. I'm going to attempt to put that together. This coupler, that I bought that one too. That one, I'm going to have to somehow figure out how that is connected down in there, because it's still stuck in there. So I have to see what it's hanging up on. I'm sure it's hanging up on the broken part of this door. So I'll have to go in there and check that out. And these other actuator doors, they work fine. This one I think is for the panel vents. That was the blend again. When you take these vacuum actuators off, be careful. I kind of pried them off with a screwdriver, and I broke this one. This one is for the floor heat. Found a new one on rockauto.com. Ding, ding, ding. So those ones work. They have little clips on them, so you have to get in there and manipulate them with your fingers to slide them off the nest that they're in. I paid, Rock Auto had it for $11 and change, $3 of shipping. Amazon had it for $14 and change. They wanted, I don't know, $9 or $10 to ship it. If you have Prime, it's free shipping. So that goes to show you what Prime is. It doesn't really save you any money on that one. These other ones, these other two, for the panel and for the defroster, they're actually discontinued items. I wanted to replace them because this is an 02, and it's now 2018, so this car's 16 years old, and I wanted to replace them, but they still work, and I'm just going to stick them back in. And let's go to the engine compartment. I would suggest that you guys, anytime that you're going to do any kind of replacement of the core, the heater core, or the motor, the fan motor, the blower motor, or any of this stuff here with the doors or any of the HVAC, go right away and check these hoses. I put all new hoses in. All of these hoses were 16 years old, and they were doing the job, but they were on the last leg. These here, this is a 5/32 hose, and it goes down to an accumulator. You'll find a little nozzle, little inlet underneath there. It's got the accumulator inside the wheel well. That's a 5/32. This one goes pretty quick. This is a little back check valve. So this one goes real quick too, and that line goes right to your panel inside for control your different vents. That's the vacuum line for that. This one here goes. This is another 5/32. This one goes all the way to that solenoid there. Right there, yeah, the solenoid. That 5/32 goes right to the solenoid there. And then this is 5/32. This is another 5/32 vacuum line. It's in a casing. Get my light situated again. It actually goes through underneath here, and it goes underneath the battery tray. You got to remove the battery. I would remove the battery tray. There's 2 screws holding it in, real easy to get at, and there's a actuator underneath here. Don't know what it controls, but this 5/32 hose goes to that. There's also another little 5/16 small vacuum hose that you'll have to replace. If you're going to replace this 5/32, might as well replace the 5/16. But that's, when you start digging in there, it's pretty easy to see that and get that. I would replace that. And let's get started putting this thing back together. So what has happened is I was able to get this coupler off, and what it does, it snaps together. That's how the coupler, there's a little hook inside there. So you have to get a screwdriver and manipulate that little latch, and then it just kind of falls apart. And you're able to, it's a little tight down in there, but I was able to spend 15 minutes and finally got it off. So that's the broken part. Taking the dash off is not a super big deal. It's the second time I've had this dash off. People complain about Chevy Blazers. I kind of like the way they're engineered. The whole thing comes off in one shot. There's things you got to take off, and there's probably 10 electrical connections that you have to remove. There's this big one. It's got a screw on it. You got to watch the latches, where the latches are. That's a vacuum. That's for the airbags. But if it's not screwed together, it's latched together. So you have to be careful how you take these apart. So some of the connections, you see, they all have finger latches. Sometimes you got to manipulate them with a screwdriver. Sometimes you can. That one was a screwdriver, but there's a bunch of them. That's the light. That one goes to some controller. Of course, you get the radio stuff, and that's the heater control harness. I took it off. You don't have to take it off, but I took it off because I wanted to just see how it looked. Here's that big one that's got to get screwed on. So be careful with that one. That looks important. This for your airbag. See, it's got a double latch. Some other connectors. A lot of this stuff you can get at underneath the dash, or if you take the glove box off. I'll continue on putting this bad boy together. I was going to mention that I'm going to put down below a couple links to somebody that took off a dash, and I followed his directions, and they were really good. So there's a couple other ones. I changed the heater core in this car. That's behind here. That's a bearer. You have to pull this HVAC unit away from the inside of the firewall. So there's like 3 or 4 screws that are a bearer to get at from the firewall side, and I'll find those videos and put a link to those also. They're handy to know. I know these Blazers are getting old and probably they're heading off the road, but at least for the ones that like to work on them, they can view these videos. Alright, I'm playing around with this bad boy, and it's supposed to sit on top of a ledge in there like that and flip up this way. The default is down, so you have defrost. I believe there's defrost coming up, and then some heat going down to the tootsies. I think I'm going to have to take this flapper off via this coupling here. So I'm going to take that spring off and remove that door and hopefully get that, sneak that underneath and get that flapper on. Okay, I'm kind of figuring this thing out as I go. So what I'm doing, and I'm just kind of thinking this thing out aloud. What I did was, I'll back up. I took my new, if I can hang this up so I can get some more light here. Yeah. Take my new heater flapper door and open this vent up. Then, it's hard to see down in there. What I did is, I'm putting it down in here like that, shoving it way back over here. And it allows this thing to close. And I have to reach into this plenum, this port area. And now I'm going to see down here, it's kind of sneaking. And the hole is back there, and the pivot hole for the other side is, start this with one hand. Get a pointer. Right down in there is a hole. Right across from it is the other hole that where the pivot for the door goes. So I'm going to try and manipulate that in there. And what's nice about the door, it's made, let me find the broken one. It's made with a little angle on it. So I'm guessing the engineers, the crafty engineers at General Motors, is figuring that you can kind of slide that baby in whichever way and push it over, lock it in with the coupler. So I'm going to give it a shot. Okay. Now I got the pivot for the coupler end. It's in the hole right now, so it's, and the other end, hard to see it, it's ready to go into the hole that's adjacent to it. So I'm going to try to pop that in, pop the coupler in, and see if this baby works. Okay, also there, you can see the pivot on the left for the coupler side. You can see it sticking out right there. That's in. Now, the hole is right there. You can see that pivot point is real close to popping in. And I'm just going to try to manipulate, actually kind of slightly pry it in with a larger screwdriver. Maybe a little tapping will happen. I think the plastic housing has enough give that it'll allow that thing to slide into place. Okay, after a little bit of finagling and messing around, and probably 10-15 minutes worth, I was able to snap that thing in. Did it very carefully. Didn't want to break the housing, but let me manipulate this pivot. That's it. That's all screwed. Now we'll let some hot air down by my tootsies. Yep. And this is working now. I gotta put the spring back on this top one for the defrost. But that was working. Leaving that down, if you manipulate the panel door over, you can see that's the panel door right there. Look at that. I got me gotta do some gluing. Definitely want to get that done before. You can see the heater core back there. Okay. Yep. All right. Okay, so we got the new heater door in, flapper door. And it's seated in that pivot hole on the right side nicely. And again, you can get that door in by putting that door in to this area here, opening the door. I think this is the panel door. Open that all the way, kind of just shove it in there and get it pointed in the right direction. Flip this back up, and then you can manipulate that door up into the pivot hole where the coupler goes on the left up there. And then the right side, that pivot has an angular surface on it, which is the way I think they manufactured it when they assemble it. And you got to kind of manipulate it or take your time. You don't want to bust anything. But the plastic housing does give a little bit, and it just kind of snaps in place. Got it to snap in place, and it pivots nicely. I got all the vacuum lines in. All the springs are in place. Let's get this light right. Vacuum lines they're pokey oak, so you can't mix them up. So we're going to start hanging the dash back on. One thing I should mention, I don't know if it's done in previous videos, you can drop this steering column, and you only drop it about 5 inches or so, 6 inches, but you drop it here, taking these two nuts off from underneath. Drop that steering column there, and it gives you a ton more room to rotate that dash forward. Big key. You don't have to take these brackets off. You can leave these brackets on. They don't get in the way. Another thing, just so you know, disconnect your battery before you do any of this stuff. Now we're going to be hanging the dash back on by these two. There's two pivots. One here, one right on the other side, and then there's a hook on the dash that goes over this, and then rest on there so the dash is laying open. So you can make all your connections back up. I'll show you the pivot point on the dash. There's where it's gonna fall onto the post, right in there, and then this goes behind that one bracket and hangs off of that, and just tilts the whole dash forward, and we can start making all our connections and put this bad boy together. All right, that's my job. Okay, so I wrestled this thing on myself because I'm too stubborn to ask anybody else for help. It is a two-man operation, but as you can see, I got it on the pivot points. This thing lays open very nicely, so I'm able to now get in there, make all of my connections back, make sure I route the antenna for the stereo, and make sure I route that back where it was. I believe it went right through here somewhere. That'll be easy figure that out. Let's take a look at the other side real quick. Hard to see. You can see, I'm ready to make my connections. Here's one. This wire is for a automatic start I had to put in. So there's wires. Those wires I got to kind of reroute and protect myself. And you can see that I have a few more connections to make underneath there. Courtesy light. A few over there by that box. I think it's a security box. Put the radio and the heater controls back in. Raise up the steering column and see if I can get this thing to work. Okay, now I've rotated it up, made a connection. There's only one connection to make back there on this side here. The other side I have a couple more connections to make. But I need to put that screw in. That one right there for the bottom pivot. And then this is the connection I had to make on this side. Make sure you snap that in. Looks like a pretty important piece of wiring harness. Next thing I'll do is let go. There's screws that go, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws in the top. And that's going to hold the dash to the structure underneath it. And then I'm going to start putting these brackets back on either side. And then I can start putting the gauge panel back on and get the rest of it. Okay, we're making progress here. That big connection's in, airbag connection's in. This is for the auxiliary 12 volt. Put that back in. That screw is in, down there, tightened up, right there. Everything is got the radio antenna. It actually clips on right here, so that's in the right spot. That feeds over to there. I'll leave the radio off for now. Got the HVAC control in. The brackets are in. The steering column is up with the 2 bolts, nice and tight. And start. You can see I got some blood over there. I've got a finger. And some other connections made. I'm gonna start putting the kick panels back in. Got the instrument panel in, tightened up, and we'll make progress. I think we'll be done here today. Okay, got the dash back on. Most of the kick panels on. Just missing the console. That's junk. It's an old one, and the glove box. Everything's hooked up. Alright. Well, go to the panel. That's panel. Go to the floor. Yeah, we have floor. That door is working good. And it's a defrost. That's the panel, so let's see if that works. It's off. Maybe the car's got to be started, but everything is looking good, and I think I'm done. Just finish her up. Okay, we have everything working now. You can't see. I got the kick plates in, so we can't see the other actuators working, but so we're on full defrost. Okay, so that panel actuator moves in. Nice. Defrost floor. We have some floor. And we have some defrost. And when we kick it over to the panel vents, you'll see that one actuator should move out. And you'll have panel venting. All done. Job's done. Button her up.